Welcome to everyone. At this time, we are in the evening in Bangkok and in the morning in New York. I am Sciortino, and I am the chair of SEA Junction, which is a cultural venue in Bangkok, and we are focusing on Southeast Asia, all kind of issue related to Southeast Asia. And since the coup in February, we have tried to share information about what is happening in the country, and we continue to keep this bi-weekly update, not to lose sight of what is going on, as it's quite tragic what is happening. At the same time, also it showed the resilience of the Burmese people who have not accepted the coup that is going on, which is quite an example for this region. We are very proud to have with us Khin Ohmar, who is quite renowned peace and women activist. So without further ado, I will give the word to her. As usual, she will talk for about 20 minutes, and then after that, we will have question and answer. So please stay with us. Please, Omar.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thanks to those of you who are still joining us. And I'm sure you've been also following on what is happening in your own way. But I will give you the last 2 weeks update, and also the most the developments right now. So I've spoken and given an update 2 weeks ago on September 2, and I updated you that time 1,043 people were killed. After 2 weeks passed, 1,093 people at least were killed. So that's another 50 people's loss of life, including 2 young children of 10 years old. The military, like a manhunt, is like every day. It's not stopping. There is no sign of stopping them attacking the people. 7,768 people were arrested. That's the number 2 weeks ago. And now 8,184, at least 8,184 people have been arrested. So that's more than 416 more people were arrested in the last 2 weeks since the last time we met. 6,533 still remain in detention. Many of them, nobody know their whereabouts. There were a lot of family abduction have been happening in the last 2 weeks. People don't know where they are taken. So yeah, that's a large number of people who are being detained at this point. Just in yesterday, 24 hours, within 24 hours, at least 21 people were arrested. In spite of that, the peaceful demonstrations continue, and they have picked up different themes in their expression. And one of the themes that they have picked up is in their support for the current ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador John Moton. They want the UN to continue, for him to continue his position as the Myanmar's representative, and they have expressed in many of these demonstrations already. And I have a message from especially the young women, the women protest. So I want to show you a very short video. Boom, could you help me display that, please? Thank you.
Hi, I'm from Myanmar. To all the members of the United Nations, we want you to know the coup started in Myanmar is failing. Even after 8 months, the hotel got through a change now. Cause regenerating through us. We refuse to normalize the operation. The hotel has paid more than 1,000 of people, like cost of the trip China's civilian and chained nearly 8,000 people across the country. The international community has faith. Children, justice and accountability. It's a time for you to show us. We can count on you. The member of the United States of Nations says you generate justice and accountability. Shows us who you are in a 76 session of the UN General Assembly. We ask you to retain the non-foreign representative of Myanmar. Ambassador Uchon retain his position as Myanmar representative to the UN. The reason for his position should not be Lima, because now you are asked to choose the civilians or the criminal culture. I choose them. You have to wisely for the people of Myanmar, the women and the younger generation fighting against the hunter every day. Thank you.
You saw these young women again very courageously, knowing that they can get attacked and arrested and tortured and all of that. They are still going out to the street. 2 weeks ago, I reported to you about the young women on the streets showing their solidarity with the Rohingya women. But now they are out there calling on the UN to continue to have their representative at the United Nations. Very quickly, I want to turn on your attention to the COVID-19 before I get into the case, the update on where we are politically. The COVID-19 actually now, like there in some areas, people say it's kind of calmed down, but then because the system has broken, the health system is not there, the infrastructure is not functioning anymore. So it's really the data has been, like international, continue to be trying to get the information, but there are still many areas that they have no access to. So it's quite quite a concern also, because there are reports of a few cases of the different strand of Delta variant also been found. So yeah, it's been challenging for now. Just on September 15th, just yesterday alone, more than almost 2,424 new cases were identified. So that's going to can be a very underestimated number, because people couldn't have overall in the countries don't have a chance to test. So yeah, now I want to come to you on the where things are in terms of the politically and how the military continue to be attacking the people overall. So that is one thing recently that they've been doing is the internet cut. So in the beginning months of the military's attempted coup, you will remember there were internet cuts also. And also in the areas where they are launching military attacks, they also try to cut the internet and the phone lines from time to time, such as like in Khin state in western part. But now they are also cutting the electricity and also the internet in different parts. The internet cut is more in those areas where they are severely targeting and attacking, such as in Sakai, Magui, and Khin state. But also people started to see the electricity cut yesterday. But also, like, there is one thing about the People's Civil Disobedience Movement. One thing that they are defying against the junta is they are resisting and refusing to pay the tax to the junta. So that's another thing, that people are trying to do, including the electricity tax. The tax for the electricity fee. So that's and then the junta is, again, you have to see that how the junta is attacking is in a very this collective form of punishment. Yeah. Now I want to come to this. Many of you are interested in what is happening with the National Unity Government's declaration for the defense war. So it is a defense war declaration the National Unity Government announced on September 7th. So I want to bring you back a week before of what really happened where I see this this is actually happening. So the special envoy, the ASEAN special envoy, called for the 4-month ceasefire. He called for the 4-month ceasefire. He actually officially spoke about that ceasefire to the Jakarta Post on September 4. And according to the information, is that he actually proposed that on August 31, whereas the military junta agreed for that ceasefire 4 months on the same day, August 31. So this is something that I would like to explain to you, how that 4-month ceasefire is interpreted on the ground for Myanmar people based on their life experience. Once the special envoy announced it, once the military junta said they agree, that means that 4 months, the military junta is going to crush the people, intensify their attacks, crush the people movement in those 4 months in the face of humanitarian aid. That is what it spelled for the people of Myanmar on the ground. And that's basically because that's what the military junta has been doing all along. So it is, first of all, I would say the special envoy made a huge mistake. His mandate is to talk to all the stakeholders. And such sensitive ceasefire, knowingly that it is the junta attacking the people across the country with the heavy machines and heavy weaponries and non-stop day and night attacks, while the Myanmar people initially, since back in March, April time, call for the international community to protect them, calling for the responsibility to protect the R2P, to come and help and intervene and protect them. The international community, particularly the United Nations, has failed. So in their defense, there's no other way but to do what they can to protect themselves and protect their communities. Before the National Unity Government called for the defense war, there are already, I think you remember that I have mentioned about the People's Defense Forces in my last update. The people have already formed in different local areas across the country, whether in the city or in urban or rural. They have formed what they call is some kind of defense team or defense force. They can have a different name adapted based on their own local names. But there are what they call is this defense forces. National Unity Government, there are many of the People Defense Forces are under the management of the National Unity Government, but also there are others who are cooperating with the National Unity Government or also coordinating among themselves. And now with this defense declaration, that has been welcomed by the Myanmar people, that has been also unified, that call has kind of solidified, coordinated among those forces. So what that means in reality is there are more of these People's Defense Forces targeting the military interest, such as Mytel. Mytel is the telecom operator owned by the Myanmar military jointly with the Vietnamese military. And the Mytel tower plants are basically in the military bases. And Mytel has been promoting, Mytel has been instrumental in spreading the hate and promoting the nationalist, ultra-nationalist Buddhist agenda to attack the ethnic and religious minorities, such as the Rohingya and non-Rohingya Muslim communities. So now the PDF, the People's Defense Forces, are targeting these Maital towers, for example. And also, I hope that you remember, I have actually informed you that the medical facilities, like the hospitals, being under siege, under control. They've been seized by the military. So the PDF look into where the military is, like also the local administration, the police, and also the military outpost in the ethnic areas. So that's been their primary target. And they have also made public announcements, not only now, but also I noticed also in the previous months also, they made an announcement of their objective and also their code of conduct, what they're going to do. And while this is happening, the ethnic armed organizations who have been fighting against the successful military governments or military regimes in the past, they have been in their ancestral land, protecting their ancestral land and their community, and they have their local administration and health and education services, police and judicial system. And they have also now been supporting the Spring Revolution since the beginning, but they have been also giving shelter to those who need to run away, hide from the military's attacks and violence. But also they have been giving trainings to those who want to take up the armed resistance against this military. And these ethnic armies are also joining the People's Defense Forces, and together they are now in this, at this moment, they are now in this defense war together, where for example, the Karen soldiers are making a public announcement, making the announcement to the military junta: if you want to attack the youth from the People's Defense Force, you have to come and get us first. Whereas the People's Defense Forces are making the announcement to the junta that we will be defending and protecting the people and their properties. So that's where we are. So just to wrap up, what you're seeing, as I have earlier, since pretty much the day one, won the international community, that first of all, Myanmar or Burma has been in civil war for a long time, pretty much since after the independence from British in 1948. But those times were more between the successive governments or the military regimes, between the military regimes who are majority Burman dominated army versus the ethnic armies from the different ethnic nationalities. So civil war is not new to Myanmar or Burma, but with the Spring Revolution, what we're seeing is the Burma majority that Aung San Suu Kyi and National League for Democracy belong to, and the Buddhist majority, including those in central and upper Myanmar who have perhaps never seen any armed conflict in their life, unlike the ethnic people in the borderlands of Myanmar. Now, these Burma majority population who are in their defense of their lives and their communities and in defense of democracy, they find no other option but to take up arms. So we are at the verge of a some people use full-blown civil war or civil war. I'm not so sure what to use, to be honest. But then what I want to say is that this international community, failing the Myanmar people, have forced Myanmar people to be able to get to where they are now, taking up their arms to defend and resist this ruthless military junta. And ASEAN Special Envoy made it worse by declaring this 4-month ceasefire without having a clear understanding of how that kind of call will impact the lives of the people on the ground, how that kind of call without the key stakeholders and the public understanding and public agreeing to that, it's going to do more harm, which is something that I have warned to the Special Envoy to the ASEAN as well. The ASEAN's approach without proper understanding and coming with the nuances of the ground reality, it would do more harm than do good for the people of Myanmar. With that, I will conclude here, and I look forward to your questions and discussion. Thank you.
We are now opening for a question. You can write in the chat room, or also for those who are watching on Facebook, they can also write there. We have already some question, one from Fabio, about last month there was a report of Fortify Rights, which argued that legal analysis is showing that NUG could engage with the International Criminal Court to investigate and prosecute the atrocities that are being committed. Do you know if the NUG is indeed considering this option and is engaging with the International Criminal Court? One other on the strength of the military. The Myanmar military are one probably of the military most, what can you say, the best organized. I don't know if they are the best organized, but in any case, they have a lot of resources and to go to war. They've been in war for a very long time, in a sense, like you have said. So what is the balance with the people army? I mean, how will they be able to, with the defense war, really to force the army to surrender? Or I don't know if that is one of the objectives, or it's just only defense. And then the third question about what is the update on the United Nations General Assembly on the position of the ambassador? Thank you.
Thanks for those questions. So writing down, I forgot the first one. Sorry for that.
The first one was about Fortify Rights.
Oh yes, right. So yeah, so the National Unity Governments, since before they were formed as the people representative committee representing Pidangsu Tlottor, CRPH, who represent the 76% of the elected members from the 2020 elections. There was already a discussion on the discussion to ratify the Rome Statute. The civil society, including our organization, we have been advocating for the CRPH that time to also ratify the Rome Statute. So Myanmar civil society has been calling for it and advocating for the CRPH to do. When the National Unity Government was formed in April, then we call on the government to also ratify. So they also consider, they discuss. So basically, yes, they have already made the, they already made the submission for the ICC to well, they haven't really ratified the Rome Statute yet, but what they actually call for is, they allow the court to exercise the jurisdiction according to the Rome Statute Article 12, 13, 12. But we have called on the government to ratify rather than giving the court to have the jurisdiction. So that is where we are. We hope that they will ratify soon, and we think it's very likely that they will do soon. But with that first step that the government has taken is that they decided to also they proposed the ICC to look into the crimes starting from 2002. So it is a good sign because as you know how this military has been committing the international crimes for decades, but at least 2002 where the court come into effect is important as a starting date to for the government to also allow the court to investigate. So we take it as a very positive, but we want the national unity government to actually ratify the statute so that can be actually we think that is going to be a much more significant and also a step to move forward towards addressing the military's atrocities and all of these crimes happening.
Ohmar, your voice.
Oh, okay. Did you hear previously? Oh, okay.
Yes,
something.
still sentences.
All right. Okay. So the second question on the whether the Tatmadaw itself is the Myanmar military is a well organized or resourced. I would say they are well organized in a criminal gang manner. And I know they will be very upset to hear that. But when you really look at how a military, a military of any country, that is with the mandate to protect the population, how they organize, this Myanmar military is nowhere near to any of those independent and nowhere near to those any of the other professional armies institution in other countries. And of course, they always stay above the law and above the civilian. So that's they enjoy the impunity for a long time. But how they do it, how they do the things, for example, just to give you one example, right now, more and more people from the army are joining the people side. The police are also joining the side. And if there is no fear within the military, if the fear is not instigated and entrenched in the institution, in this military institution, pretty much almost entire military will be joining the people's movement. I have no doubt about it. But the only thing is because they know that if they take the side with the people without taking without the safety for them and for their families, they will face the death penalty. So that is also one thing. But how also the other way that they organize is by, I think I talked about it before too, is by really giving the incentive, right? Incentive in a way is like what kind of incentive is more of like a corruption. It is the military is built on the corruption, yeah. So they do have a lot of resources, that's for sure, and that's a very reason that we are calling on the international community, international governments to impose the very strategic targeted sanctions targeting the military, their families and cronies' own businesses. And now some of the state-owned enterprises, such as the lucrative business like the oil and gas and jam sector, these needs to be also targeted, put on the targeted sanctions list and cut off the financial flow to this military, because we cannot allow them to have more of these financial resources from the international outlets, international financial flows coming into them that they will use to kill the people. But if you really go and look at the soldiers on the ground, the rank and files who have to go into the war with their own people, their lives are really beneath, like worse. They have nothing, really nothing, more merely that they've been brainwashed and they've been also given their very minimum survival, that they have no other option, no other professions, but just to keep up with that. And when they go into the areas where they have to launch these attacks against their civilians, this Myanmar military has this one policy. It is a self-reliance policy. What that means, that self-reliance is for the soldiers to do whatever that they need to when they go to the front lines in order to survive. That includes the looting of the crops, looting of the livestock, looting of pretty much private properties, including the cash. And that's how they survive. And that's how they continue to be surviving until now. So they're not really well organized as a professional military, as you will see in other countries, but they are well organized as a criminal gang. That's what I would say. And that's why we are telling the international community, including the ASEAN, to stay away from this military, cut off these financials, and make sure that they don't complicit in the military's crimes against humanity and war crimes. Because otherwise, if they continue to be kind of like everything that they do, if that falls in favor of the military, so that means more attacks on the people. That will also mean that the international community, the ASEAN, it will be like them aiding and abetting the military in their committing crimes against Myanmar people. Yeah. The Ambassador John Mouton's latest update. As those of you who are interested, I'm sure you follow in the news. There are a lot of news about this cover. So as civil society, more than 350 civil society organizations, including joined by SEA Junction. We have the Myanmar as well as regional and the international friends are joining, and we sent a letter, open letter to the United Nations General Assembly members last Friday. And of course, Myanmar diaspora across the globe in different parts are also doing the campaigns, letter campaigns, online campaigns, while the people of Myanmar in the country are also taken out to the street and also doing these street demonstrations like you saw these young women in the video. Right now, some media said there is as if there was some decision already happened. As you know, the world of the realpolitik among the diplomatic communities in New York, I'm sure there were a lot of discussions are already happening, especially now the Credential Committee composed by 9 member states. The names have already been officially announced by the General Assembly President Maldives on the 14th. The Credential Committee, I have no doubt, is looking into the Myanmar credential matter. They haven't decided yet. They may decide in next 1 week or 2 weeks, but they still have time until they give their decision or the recommendation to the General Assembly in November, where the General Assembly will have to make decision as General Assembly that will be incorporated in their resolution of the 76th General Assembly session, which is the session right now. So we don't know yet, but we have been clearly sending our messages. This ambassador has been the crucial voice of the Myanmar people in the United Nations. That's where the Myanmar people, as the Myanmar being the member state, that's where their voice should be. And he has been the critical voice, reflecting and amplifying the Myanmar people's voice, Myanmar people's concerns, and their wants, and their defense for democracy. So for the protection of human rights, humanitarian aid, he is there for the Myanmar people. So it is so vital, this international, the United Nations General Assembly members and the Credential Committee continue to recognize him. And that is the clear message from us, because that is also what they are responsible to do, like by UN Charter. So we really hope that the Credential Committee will make the decision that is in favor of the Myanmar people's desire, which is for Ambassador Jomoton to continue to stay as their ambassador there, which is, of course, the Ambassador Jomoton is the representative of the Myanmar people and the National Unity Government, which is the people elected representative government. So, yeah.
I was muted. We have a last round of questions. One was related to what you just discussed from Wayu, was asking about what is the strategy of the NUG to be able to legitimate the position in the representation of the United Nations. So I think you already answered, but there was also related question of what can the international community do to try to support the position that you have just now described. Another question from Anthony Zola is, please tell us how we as individual, as foreigner, can help the Myanmar people. Is anything that can be done by individuals just like us? And then the third question, does the NUG have already planned for how to organize itself as a national administration, if indeed the military at some point will be, I don't know what is the right word to say, will be conquered or will stop to harass people? So have they already planned for the future of how they would organize national administration in Myanmar? We have heard that it's going to be an inclusive government and there are discussions about, but is there more concrete talk, or is just too early for the time being? This is from Kim. And then the last question from Stephen, are there new ethnic army organizations that back up the Tatmadaw? So is a conflict resulting from that? I mean, we know that these ethnic army are not always agreeing one with the other. So is there a conflict, some on one side and some on the other side ongoing? So this is the last round. We have still about 20 minutes, so you can take your time.
Okay, thank you so much for these questions. So I will take the question on how you can support either as individually or by organization. I will respond as a last. But let me start with the NUG and also the if there are any ethnic armies also taking side with the Tatmadaw. So the NUG right now is interim government. I know that can be argued by different people from outside the country. I mean, from the international community. Some call the National Unity Government as parallel government or shadow government or exile government. None of these three, we don't accept any of these three. First, they are not parallel to the military because military is not a government. And they are not shadow government also because military is not a government. and they are not exile either. They are not exile government. They are government interim because of the military attempted coup. They are the interim government in Myanmar. So with that, the next question is the administration. Of course, even now, if you think of the more than 400,000 civil servants who do not cooperate with the military, who are doing this civil disobedience movement under the National Unity Government, they are all ready to return to work and resume when the people's government come back. And they have been so far continuing with their resistance is because they just cannot work under the military. And once there are more NUG and the ethnic armies can take more control of the territories, and I have no doubt the civilian administration will be established between the National Unity Government and also the ethnic armies. And when I talk about the ethnic armies, I have to also share with you a different category. The ethnic armies that I will I've been referring are those who remain and continue to be committed with their political objectives for the establishing of the Federal Democratic Union, not those who are more doing the drug or illegal, activities hands in hands with the military. Like when we never talk about the drug issue in Myanmar in this forum. And Myanmar produced one of the largest, as you all know, those opium and drugs, and the reality is, those businesses, who are actually allowing those businesses to, who is harboring, right? So of course, that is the military, and that is the top military generals who are benefiting from those illegal drug trades. And so basically, there are those ethnic armies, but they're not the one who are there with these political objectives, but they are more militias. They are militias who have done so-called this ceasefire with the Myanmar military, and they have been doing this drug business, illegal business, together with the Myanmar military leaders for a long time. So yes, they may be taking side with the military, but then we also have to understand from their perspective is that they are aware of that they also want their freedom. They want their community to be free from this military Burma chauvinist structures and policies that suppress them for generations. So they started with the political objectives. Yes, along the way, I don't know, they got into different path or something, right? But I have no doubt some of them will still be joining the real resistance forces. And there are places who are already sort of kind of like coming back together to fight this military together. So I won't be able to say in detail about it, but I just know that there are those excuse me. I know that there are those who are also coming together and coming together in their political aspiration for federal democracy, because this is the first time the Spring Revolution has brought everyone together, from the city to the urban to the rural, from the west to east to north and south, from forces from different sides are all coming together. Yes, except of course there are those who are under the military control and who are actually the rival to the military. But I would say that these the ethnic, when it comes to the federal democracy, there may be some small militias within the different ethnic places, but when it comes to the political objective, they also go with the main political organizations, such as the Karen National Union, such as the Kachin Independence Organization. So these are the ones who are already with the people and with the National Unity Government working together. So I think that's important for us to note. Sorry, I think because I got a bit distracted. Leah, could you help me? There's another question. I couldn't write it down right away.
Oh, okay, so there was, yes, the one related to the UN. You already, I think you already have answered, although there was one part about what can be done by the international community to support the position of NUG in being the current ambassador. So that is the one. And the other one is, the final one was, please tell us how can we as individuals go and help Myanmar people in any way.
Thank you. Yeah. So I forgot to also in your response, in response to one of your questions about the NUG, I forgot to say that also there is a political process in the current people's movement. They are planning towards establishing, developing a federal democratic union constitution. So that is also, again, looking forward. So one thing that I can say is Myanmar is no longer the country that you have seen before February. They have a clear vision and objectives for how they want to move forward as a country. So there is this political process for federal democratic union. But of course, like all of these things can be processed smoothly and effectively and efficiently if there is an enabling, conducive, safe political atmosphere. And I think that is where the current defense war from the National Unity Government, joined and welcomed by the people, is to create such space where they can actually bring their military under control. But I have to say that I keep saying about that too, is that it is going to be really, really challenging, right? Because we know how the military also gets military support from a country like Russia or Ukraine. I think it's important. That's why we call on the UN Security Council to impose the global arms embargo, because that's the way that we can create such atmosphere, environment where the military will cease those violence, where the people and the National Unity Government will take their rightful role to come back to govern the country, to plan for this transition. So with that, how can you help and support is all the international, is like at this point, at this very critical moment with what is happening in the United Nations General Assembly for the credential, we would like for you to raise your voice to your government. Especially, I have learned that ASEAN member states are more a troublemaker in the United Nations General Assembly. I will be very worried of where they will take a stand. They need to hear your voice. They need to hear all of you from your country, whether it's Australia or New Zealand, or your governments need to take the stand for Myanmar people, and that's for Ambassador Jomoton. That's the first immediate action that you can really support. So they need to hear, your parliamentarians need to hear, your foreign minister needs to hear this. So please raise your voice for this particular point. But also we are calling on the UN Security Council, two major things. Arms embargo, well, three major things. Arms embargo, targeted sanctions. Arms embargo, targeted sanctions. Yeah, these are the two things that we are called. Sorry. The refer Myanmar situation to the ICC. So these are the three major things that we're calling for. Or you can, if you will remember, it's easy to remember as three-cut policy, as described by the Special Advisory Council for Myanmar which is comprised of the former UN experts on Myanmar. They said, cut the finance, cut the arms, and cut the impunity. Cut the finance, targeted sanction. Cut the impunity by referring Myanmar to the ICC, and then forgot the other one. Cut the arms. Cut the arms, yes, so that we can stop the violence. Yeah.
Okay, so that is, what about in terms of donation or channels to donate? Is any that this is also a way, I suppose,
Yes.
to help the movement?
Yeah. Thank you for that. There are actually many ways that you can support. I know there are, well, this is very sensitive because military knows that you want to support, and they are also looking into who is going to support such, resources, right? And they will be targeting those who will be receiving. So we need to be, we will, like those of you who would like to make such kind of donation, I can help you get in touch with those who are responsible for this. So do contact me. I don't know, you can see, but I think you can see me on my Facebook as well, and drop me a message, and you can get information from Leah. Yeah, I will prefer to have one-on-one communication with you if you are keen to be supporting something like that. But in relation to that, I forgot to address this issue that ASEAN Special Envoy announced this $1.1 million worth of medical supplies and equipment transfer to Myanmar Red Cross. Well, Myanmar Red Cross has always been a pillar for the previous military regimes all along, and also now is under the military total control. In the past 10 years, the Myanmar Red Cross was silent, even though their ground volunteers are very good, but the top leadership continued to remain loyal and submissive to the military leadership. And in fact, they were attending the military's Armed Forces Day when the military was killing 79 people in one day. On that day, the Myanmar Red Cross leadership were enjoying this celebration of the Armed Forces Day with the military leaders in Naypyidaw. The ASEAN, the AHA Center, anything that they do in this humanitarian or any of the humanitarian aid needs, contribution or sending to Myanmar, for Myanmar people, they have to stay away from Myanmar Red Cross because the people don't trust Myanmar Red Cross. Myanmar Red Cross is under the total control of the military. So again, how do you actually then send those assistance? Yes, you can reach out to the National Unity Government, COVID-19 Task Force, joined by the ethnic health organizations. There are civil society and local networks, local groups, charity organizations who are doing the great job in spite of the risk from the military attack. But the local agency is there. I have already shared this to the Special Envoy, and I would like for you also to reach out to those local agencies, local groups, local organizations who are taking care of each other, and they know how best your assistance will reach to the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Omar. And I think indeed we have very clear point about what we all can do, especially those who are in ASEAN. I think they have to raise their voice strongly because the government, I think indeed, may not be in favor of the current ambassador. I would not be surprised, even seeing previous votes during the UN related to Myanmar in the past. So in the past year. So I think indeed it's very important to keep the pressure on the member states, because ASEAN after all is an assembly of the member states. So it will be very crucial, and also on the way to provide support to Myanmar, I think everyone can contact Omar in the Facebook or otherwise also through SEA Junction, and we can later provide information of what groups best can be supported in this effort.
Leah, can I say last word? Also, there's one important word that I forgot. The ASEAN member states at the United Nations General Assembly, they have to take a clear stand with the people of Myanmar. You know why? Because I've been hearing that some of the ASEAN member states, they are thinking like, is like, well, it would not be fair if we give the seat to Ambassador John Moton. It would not be fair. So what is the fair right there? You know, what is the what kind of fairness are they talking about? You know, so I think the ASEAN member states, that's why I'm saying that the ASEAN member states, if they've been making a lot of mistakes at the expense of our people's lives, they should not do this again. So if they do, like I said, people of Myanmar lost complete trust in the ASEAN, and they even want to leave ASEAN. And I think ASEAN has to be very careful of looking ahead in the future of who is their real partner when it comes to Myanmar. Is it the military who is killing the people, or the people and their government defending their lives and defending democracy and human rights? So thank you.
Thank you. Very important point indeed. I was referring also the ASEAN vote at the UN when there was the discussion about the right to protect. Many of the ASEAN countries did not vote in favor of the right to protect. So there is indeed a worry that may take an undemocratic position when it comes also to the ambassador. So it is crucial for people in the region, particularly also to raise their voice through writing, also op-ed. I know some people here in the group who are listening are journalists, or they are they are quite followed on their social media, so please do so, multiply the voice of Omar on this. And I think the 3 points to cut the arm, cut the army, cut the impunity, and the third one was cut the finance, I think, but also it's important to broaden the knowledge and the support on the other side. So while cutting on these 3 things, also let's make an effort to multiply the support and the knowledge on what is happening in Myanmar. We will be here again in 2 weeks' time, so please keep following us, and also possibly help us by sharing the video. The video of this update will be on our Facebook, and I think also on the Facebook of Progressive Voice and other affiliated group. So please do share it, and will be also on our website. So you can watch it, share it, and invite your friend to watch. Thank you very much for following us. Thank you again, Omar, and see you all in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thanks, Leah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
See you.